Hello, my name is Bill Young. I'm the editor-in-chief of JCEM Case Reports, which is the newest journal to join the Endocrine Society family of journals. And today I'd like to share some information with you about the journal and how to optimize your manuscript and the chances that it will be accepted for publication in this journal. So let me just share a PowerPoint presentation with you where I am going to walk through some of this information. And the focus of this presentation is how to use our manuscript template. The mission at JCEM Case Reports is to provide a forum for internal medicine residents, endocrine trainees, junior faculty to publish clinical articles. In addition, we want clinicians in practice to share their interesting cases, either as a case report or image in endocrinology. What is our standard for acceptance? The case report must be factual, concise, well organized, presented clearly, based on logical causality, and easily readable. You need to follow our manuscript template, and I'm going to focus on that in this presentation. Provide a complete description of the case and include pertinent labs and images, and conclude with some key bulleted learning points. We're accepting two types of articles: case reports up to 3 patients, and images in endocrinology. Case reports can be common endocrine disorders with unique diagnostic, ethical, or management challenges, or rare endocrine disorders that present with a new association, unexpected findings, or anticipated treatment responses. You must use the manuscript template, and this includes tips on how to polish your manuscript. Images in endocrinology demonstrate what the clinician sees in the exam room on their computed imaging system or with the patient themselves. So images of rare endocrine disorders, unusual, interesting educational images of common endocrine disorders would be perfect for images in endocrinology. So if you go to our website, and the address is listed at the top of this slide, you'll find the JCEM Case Report author guidelines. And within that are links to the case report template. And in the first page of that template is an author checklist. This checklist, once you've checked off everything on the list, can be deleted. This is for your use only. Number 1 is we need signed informed patient consent, and patient details need to be anonymized. In terms of the patient consent form, you can use the one from the Oxford University Press just by clicking on this link here. And when you do that, you'll see this consent form. It's a standard consent form, but it's the patient giving their consent to have their story told in publication. Authors are not to submit completed consent forms to the journal. Completed consent forms should be held by the author and the treating institution according to locally approved procedures, but should be available to the journal upon request. And the journal editors reserve the right to reject papers if there are concerns about ethical procedures or informed patient consent. If the patient or a proxy of a deceased patient cannot be traced and consent cannot be obtained, the case report can be considered for publication only if it's anonymized and approved by the treating institution, with the journal's editor's agreement as providing sufficient identity masking. So back to that checklist: signed informed patient consent, maximum of 4 authors. It cannot be previously submitted to a preprint server or repository. The manuscript, the figures, tables, all must be original and not previously published. There'll be no supplementary materials, and all laboratory values need to be double-checked and reference ranges provided. You need to know that the word count is limited to 2,000 words, but this does not include the figure legends or references. No more than 10 references. The text should be double-spaced throughout. The pages should be numbered consecutively, beginning with the title page as page 1. You need continuous line numbering, and this is important for the peer reviewers so they can call out the line number where they would like to make a comment. single column 1-inch margins, and you need to follow our file specifications. More on that in a bit. Use AMA manual style, Stedman's Medical Dictionary for both style and spelling. Because this is an international journal, all laboratory values will be expressed in both SI units and conventional units. In that way, readers from around the world will rapidly recognize the laboratory values. Non-standard abbreviations should be avoided. And really, you need to go easy on abbreviations. It's usually better not to abbreviate unless it's a multiple word term that's used more than 5 to 7 times in a manuscript, or if it's a very common accepted abbreviation like CT or MRI. You need to follow the guidelines in the template and complete a final spell check and grammar check before you submit. Once you've completed that checklist, then it's the manuscript. Page 1 is the title page. The title can be no more than 120 characters and spaces. It needs to be concise, specific, and informative. Do not include the words case report in the title. And the title should not be a question, and it should not be a play on words that have comical intent, which usually are culturally specific and will not translate globally. Then you list the authors. Again, up to 4 authors are allowed. We need full names and affiliations. We don't need degrees. Include the email address, phone number, fax number, full postal address of the corresponding author. Disclosure summary, a summary of disclosures for all the authors. All this is on the title page. Keywords, 2 to 6 keywords. You need to list the word count for the manuscript. You do this at the very last step. You include the abstract in the body of text, but not the title page, references, figure, and table legends. And then the submitting author and corresponding author need to have an ORCID ID. If you don't have one, we give you a link on how to apply for one. Page 2 is the abstract. It should be concise, factual, unstructured format, fewer than 200 words. You provide a summary of the case, important clinical findings, interventions, outcomes, and key learning points. The abstract should not include citations. This is the most important part of your manuscript. It is read more than any other part. Abstracts in PubMed, how others decide whether to read and cite your work. It must stand on its own, and you're limited to 200 words. This is a challenge. You need to spend time and thought on putting together a good abstract. Limit the use of abbreviations in the abstract, and write the abstract after you've completed the manuscript to minimize any data discrepancies. Page 3 is the text of the manuscript. And each of these in bold are sections of the manuscript. So first is introduction. Explain why the case is important and frame it in the context of the existing literature. Then the case presentation. Detail the clinical presentation, signs, symptoms, relevant medical or family history. Remember, de-identify patient-specific information. Next paragraph is diagnostic assessment. Discuss physical exam findings, laboratory tests, imaging studies, and diagnostic challenges. Next paragraph, treatment. Detail the key management decisions. Use generic names for all medications and provide the dosages. Next paragraph is outcome and follow-up. Provide the details on patient outcome, duration of follow-up, status at last follow-up, include any adverse or unanticipated events. Then we come to the discussion, where you summarize similar cases in the literature and applicable clinical practice guidelines. Discuss the key features of your case. What were the limitations in evaluation and management? You conclude with learning points. We want bulleted points, 3 to 5 learning points that highlight the key messages that the reader should remember. Be focused, concise, brief, to the point, succinct, and crisp. I think you get the message. Next would be acknowledgments. And this is optional, but list those individuals or mentors who help guide you in manuscript preparation. And then contributors, what do each of the authors contribute to the manuscript? If there's any funding, it should be listed here. Disclosures, any actual perceived conflicts of interest for the author should be listed. You need to document the type of informed patient consent that was obtained. Provide a data availability statement, references, up to 10 references. We use AMA manual style. And tables. In general, a table isn't needed, but you might want a table to summarize all the laboratory values. It needs to be cited in the text at the appropriate place. Figures. These are important in case reports. You can have up to 6 original figures can be provided, and we give you guidance on the type of file format that may be used. And finally, how do you save your Word file? You save the Word file with last name of the submitting author, underscore, the month you're going to submit, underscore, and the year, doc. Do a final spell check with your word processing program. Have colleagues read and review your manuscript. Have a native English speaker review and edit your manuscript. And consider using resources found on the journal website. And again, here's the website address. And we do give you a link, and there's a discount for Endocrine Society members on language editing services. So, key steps to successful publication in JCEM case reports. Start with a good case. Get signed consent from the patient, or if deceased, a proxy. If neither available, then from the treating institution. Use the manuscript template. This is key. Present the case clearly. Conclude with bulleted learning points. Anonymize case and figures. Have colleagues give you feedback. Have a native English speaker review and edit your manuscript. And finally, submit. We look forward to receiving your case reports and images in endocrinology. Thank you very much for allowing me to share some tips with you on how to be successful in submitting your manuscript to JCEM Case Reports. Thanks.